I've been making art, either illustration or painting or portraits or landscapes for 25 years. Ever since I was in high school, I was like doing caricatures for like after proms and stuff and doing portraits for people. Obviously, then I went to college and then, I started doing more professional gigs and stuff like that. But I'm actually no longer a teacher. I just moved from Brooklyn upstate New York a couple years ago, and I was teaching still for a little bit, and then I couldn't keep the commute, and we had a child. So now I'm just painting and doing portraits and working out of my studio here upstate. I'm hoping to get back to teaching. I'm wanting to start. During the pandemic, I did an online, since everybody had to go, online. I ended up doing an online art for kids, and actually it was like for everybody, but it was mostly for kids, because before the pandemic, I was doing art lessons for kids, like private or group, and I was doing like summer art programs for kids. So it was kind of like I did that. And so now, after having that with the pandemic, I want to try and get back to that and get that going again, because it was like so much fun. But we'll see if there's a need for it anymore, because no one's on the computer anymore. So we'll see what happens. But I don't know. Teaching wise, I would like to get back to that sometime soon. But that was kind of who I knew. I've been very close friends with John Romang, who is, I don't know if he was at the time, but he is now, I think, the vice chair or some chair in the Artist Alliance there, that like manages the program. I've been friends with him since high school, all through college. He was really trying really hard to get me to move to Paducah years ago. And it just so happened I was prepping for a gallery exhibit. And he was like, well, you can come and work on those paintings in Paducah and do this artist residency and get to know some other artists in this area. And so I was, obviously totally into it, and, went down there for the residency and met a bunch of cool people. And also, it just so happened to fall on the same week that they were doing the quilting convention, because I guess they have like an annual quilting convention there that's like incredibly impressive. And that kind of like opened my eyes to a whole nother form of illustration that I never even thought of, which was really, really kind of lucky that I was able to get in there at that particular time.
So what exactly did you do as an artist in residence?
So as an artist in residence there in Paducah, while I was there, I did artist mentoring with the high school that was down there. Because John is a art teacher at the high school there. So I came into his classrooms and kind of like talked to various age groups in high school, anywhere from freshmen to seniors, looked at their projects, talked to them about their projects, did a couple demos while I was there in the school, and just kind of was around. And while I was in his art, space, I would be drawing or doing something and kind of working on the show that I was prepping for. On top of that, I was very fortunate to get the opportunity to instruct some figure drawing classes and do some still life paintings at the college. That was really cool and a really fun opportunity, like to actually get to teach at a collegiate level, like teaching other adults versus teaching children, which was, really great. I find when you're teaching something, it helps you like really kind of analyze what you do, and then kind of, in return, you're being taught more, and you're reflecting better on the work that you're doing. So it was really interesting. I really like that.
What is your medium?
So primarily, I'm an oil painter. I've worked on all different types of surfaces, but I've fallen in love with flat panel, so I mostly paint oil on panel. I'm kind of like always experimenting on with different surfaces. I've been really wanting to start painting on metal plates, and I mean, I started painting on like cardboard and foam core back in the day when I had no money. I was just like had to have something to paint on. So, but I mean, I've painted on paper, which I really like. I've prepped and sized large pieces of paper, primarily oil paint, and I also do a lot of pencil work, just pencil on paper, which is kind of like my meditative, like just want to draw something, you know. And I end up doing a lot of portraits and work in pencil also. So,
Behind you, is that what you're working on right now?
oh yeah, that's my temporary studio space. I'm renovating my studio. We have like a spot above our garage that I'm turning into my new space, but right now it's back there. And actually, that's a painting, a landscape painting of San Francisco. The Whenever I go places, I try and take as much like reference, and I try and play. I do a lot of plein air painting, so I'll try the best I can with the situation I have. If I have the opportunity to do some sketches in life and plein air, so then I'll do some sketches, get some color ideas, and then take photo reference to bring it back into the studio for longer sessions of painting.
You are well known for your drawings and for your portraits, but I'm hearing now that you're actually doing plein air. So what do? You go where?
Well, it's kind of funny because I, I I do a lot of plein air painting actually in the city because I just love like New York City and just the the color variance of all the buildings when you just like look down a street. So I actually really love to paint in the city, and I'll set up an easel at various spots. But up here, I'm, out in the country, which is awesome. And I'm near the Catskills, and I'm near all these amazing waterfalls and like very ideal scenery. And it's kind of a historic area of the Hudson Valley anyway. So there's just a lot of opportunities to just go off on a hike, find an old bridge, find a little stream, find something, and paint it for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then move on to the next one. Yeah, I've been really enjoying the opportunity. Whenever I get an opportunity to get out and paint, I'll try and take it.
You're doing children, adults and pets. Do you have a preference?
It's No, I don't. I don't know if I would have a preference. I think they each have their own challenges, and sometimes the challenge at first is like, oh, that girl's wearing like the most ornate dress, or or like this dog has like the curliest hair, and I'll be thinking like, oh, this is going to be a tough one. And oftentimes those are my favorite paintings because it really challenges me. I feel like my favorite subjects are the ones that challenge me the most. That could be anywhere from, people to pets, all different ages. With kids, like sometimes kids are really tricky to paint because they have such smooth, soft lines, and you have to be really careful with all your edges and still have some sharp moments in your portrait to keep it interesting. And so, yeah, I mean, I really love painting children. I love painting people's pets. I feel like I get a lot of reward from painting other people's pets. A lot of times I'll paint like tribute portraits for people who might have lost their pets, and so it's kind of like an honor for me to like give them something to like hang on to and put on the wall to help them remember those loved ones. I think I like all of it.
These days, you're spending more time on landscapes.
Yeah, lately I've been doing a lot of landscapes. I feel like I've been doing a lot of portraits that I haven't been able to share because they're like, like corporate, or there for people that have, said like, well, I don't want you to share it until I give it to where it's going. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of landscapes, and I've actually been jumping into more still lifes too, because now that I have a baby at home, it's harder for me to get out and do, plein airs or like landscapes that take hours. But I can set up a still life and get, go back to it as much as I can. So.
Are you combining earth tones with more vibrant tones?
Yeah, I do. I tend to use vibrant underpaintings. I really kind of fell in love with like a magenta underpainting, or like a bright red that tends to pop and it actually kind of lends to the drama. Like the pink underpaintings are wonderful for painting sunsets and sunrises, because it kind of like adds to that feeling. It kind of puts a glow underneath. But as for my palette that I use, it's generally a very limited palette. I usually like to only use 4 or 5 colors at a time as much as I can. But like sometimes I'll add a warm and a cool of whichever. Like if if I have a green, I'll have a warm and a cool green. If I have a yellow, I'll have a warm and a cool yellow. And so same with reds and blues. So I'll sometimes, if I have like a big palette, it's because I'll have a warm and a cool version of each color that I'm using. I don't know where I started doing that, but it just kind of helps me when I'm going from light to dark. I love the like Anders Zorn palette and some of those like minimal palettes. So I try and work with that as much as I can, especially with portrait.
You like painting on metal, on panels, on cardboard. Are you planning on doing murals in the future?
I've been asked to do murals a couple times. I would love to. It feels so daunting to like start a mural or to like think about doing a mural. I haven't yet gotten the opportunity, but Dean Cornwell has always been one of my most like favorite influential artists of the Gilded Age of illustrators, and his murals were just amazing. And if I could ever get an opportunity to do something like that, I would totally take it. But like I feel like I've always been very scared about how long something like that might take, and like can I have it be sustainable? Can I do it fast enough to have it be like worth the investment on time? And so I think that like some of those mural painters have got it down to a science, and I like don't know the science as well. Hopefully one day. I'm actually stepping into working larger. Once I get the new studio, I'll have a much bigger space. So I guess we'll see what happens.
What would you say was the most valuable experience from Paducah?
There were a couple really amazing moments. There were obviously being around the quilt convention, because I was lucky enough to get the director of the museum to take me on a tour of it, which was amazing because she like explained to me everything about it and all the artists, and introduced me to a bunch of artists and introduced me to a couple local artists and they brought me to their studio spaces and I got to see them work, which was really cool. And then I was able to sit in on a kiln firing using an old wood-fired kiln, that one I forget his last name, Mitch. He's a potter, and I got to watch him fire a whole set of cups and plates and stuff using it like just a wood burning kiln, which was pretty cool. That was really awesome. But I think the most valuable aspect of that was getting the opportunity to sit in and draw and teach some students about my process to figure drawing. I had to take 4 years of figure drawing when I was in college, and I haven't stopped figure drawing ever since I left. So whenever there's, I try and get in and go to figure drawing sessions whenever I can. And there used to be a place in Brooklyn I would go every other week. I think that was the most valuable, sitting in and talking to students about figure drawing, and talking to students about setting up still lifes and how to paint, because it kind of got me thinking about my own process.
This year, what are your projects?
This year, well, right now I'm working on a pretty good sized portrait, oil painting portrait, and a series of 11 small portraits for a client that I think is going to be interesting, because it's lending myself to be a little bit more creative in a series and not just an individual portrait, since they're all like part of a family and there's 11 of them, and I'm playing with color and composition. Other than that, I think my plan is since I've sort of taken a break from clients a little bit. It's always hard for me to say no. So whenever anyone asks me to do something, I'll do it. But I think that this year, once the studio gets done and I'll have more space, I'm hoping to work on a series of large, um, like stylized landscapes. Um, I would really like to do some plein air sketches and bring those sketches into large format landscape paintings. I would like to try and have those landscape paintings be a little bit more loose, painterly, something that isn't so like photorealistic. I would like them to be more impressionistic. And I think with working larger and working in a space that allows me to do that, I think it's going to help me kind of develop and build from there. So that's kind of my hopes for this year.
Have gallery presence, or you are posting everything online?
I mostly post everything online. I've had several gallery shows, and there's a couple galleries that I've worked with, more than once. I'm hoping to build a body of work with these landscapes, and I'm going to be trying to get them into a gallery, or get them up somewhere, because I feel like when you have a collection of paintings, it's kind of an experience that, you're telling a story through a series of paintings. And that's what I really love about gallery exhibitions, is that you can have everything there and see it in person and feel it, versus just, on a tiny little screen that everyone's looking on their phones. Like, that's the best I can do, is post it on my Instagram or put it on my website. With this new collection, I'm really hoping to shop around some galleries and hopefully spur up some interest, either locally or, maybe I've actually been talking to my friend John in Paducah, and like, it's been a long time since we've done a show there. So maybe I'll start there and see if we can't find a wall to hang our paintings together. And because we used to do a couple group shows, we did like 2 or 3 group shows down in Paducah, which have always been just amazing.
You will be traveling with a baby?
Maybe. If I'm lucky enough to bring the family with, that would be awesome. I've been learning how to travel with the baby and do things with the baby, and so hopefully that doesn't like hopefully that adds to the experience, and I can show my son like my work, and get him involved, and have him be in the studio with me and watch me paint. Like that's my hopes for the next couple of years while he's building and developing, and get him a little easel.
If people want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Oh, I'm pretty easy to get in touch with. I have a website I pay attention to. I have my Instagram is easy to message me there. It's Adam Carlson Artist. I'm already working on 2 or 3 commissions this year. I've already said yes to 3. So we'll see if I can have the discipline to say I got to work on this right now. But hopefully I can work on it all, and I can do a commission, and I can still get my personal visions worked on as well. But I am also hoping to get a podcast going soon. That is also my next mission, because I would love to, the teacher inside of me. I love to post process of how I work. I'm really wanting to start a YouTube channel of my process and talk about my process, and do like little technique workshops and stuff like that, and get that going. That's something to watch out for, and I'm hoping to get that going in the next couple months as well. I've got a lot of plans, but the baby is kind of taking priorities, which is nice too. It's kind of giving me time to to develop ideas and to think and to build from there. But yeah.
You sleep deprived?
A little bit, yeah, yeah. This is they go through the sleep regressions. Right now, we're doing a little sleep training, so it's been a challenge, and but luckily, like I've been good at sleeping and still working and still getting things done. For some reason, I don't know if I'm one of those people that like has the genetics or whatever, but like I can deal without sleep pretty good. So, and as long as I get the thinking part done with a painting, like what getting the sketch and the composition and getting it all sorted out is kind of the hard part, is kind of like where you're doing the most thought. And then once you get to painting, then it's kind of like, for me, it's just kind of like second nature, and I can just paint, and I can still be a little tired while I do that. So it's getting there. There's just one thing that I was pretty proud of that I did recently that was interesting, that is is a project that I can just now talk about, but and hopefully with the fires out in California, nothing got affected by it, both their and my work. But I was recently asked to draw the portraits of the owners of the Panda Inn, which is the restaurant that is based off of, like, the Panda Express is like their quick version, and the Panda Inn is their like nice version, or not that Panda Express isn't nice, but like the more sit down restaurant version. But they asked me, and I was honored to do portraits all in pencil, large portraits, 18 by 24, of their family. So, and the father that started all the recipes and did all the cooking and started the restaurant, and then his children and his wife, and I did these large portraits for their corporate offices, which was a really big honor for me, for them to ask me to do that. And it's kind of interesting how they found me too, because I have a handful of tattoos. The tattoo artist that did it was a friend of a friend from New York, who I then became really good friends with. He came to my wedding, and a great guy, who then introduced me to this wonderful couple of artists that have an ad agency in Hong Kong. And so, like, it's just kind of like, it always kind of rolls like it's just be friends with everybody, right? And like, who knows what will happen? Like, who knows what somebody might see? Like, they're like, oh, do you know anyone who does pencil portraits? And they're like, oh yeah, I know this guy does these great pencil portraits, and so that was really an interesting events of just like being friends with people, and then somewhere down the line, somebody like was like, oh, can you do these portraits for us? And it was a big honor. It was a really fast-paced job, and it was right before my baby was born, so it was kind of like a last-minute stress out, and it was really cool. It was a really fun project, and I'm going to be posting about that and the process of that on my Instagram in the next few days, because they finally opened up their new restaurant in Pasadena, and hopefully everything's okay out there, and hopefully the community is safe, and it's a really sad thing that's happening out there, but I think that was my most recent really cool project that I got to work on.